Hey guys, Miss Warren here. Today I want to talk to y'all about still life composition. So a still life is an arrangement of inanimate objects. That means things that are not alive. So I'm going to be picking out some objects and I'm going to be arranging them in a way that's appealing to the eye. So composition is how you arrange stuff on the page. So eventually we're going to go from arranging stuff in real life to drawing or painting a picture of the object. So first, let me give you an example of what I don't want to see. Now here I've set up some like fabric. I have it just on a table and I have it tucked behind some lids. So I'm not distracted by the background. I'm going to zoom into this area. So there's just fabric in the background, nothing really distracting. So one way that you don't want to show a good composition in your picture is you don't want to have things that are too similar and too the same size. So here I have three dry erase board markers. What I don't want to see, and something that's too small for the area. So they're small, they're low, the same size. If you just put them in a row, let me get one more. So this generally would be an example of what you don't want to do in a still life composition. Yes, they're inanimate objects, but there's a few things that we don't want to do here. So the first thing is that we want a variety of objects and we don't want them all lined up in a row. And we want them to overlap. So let me get probably about 5 different objects that are different over here. So you want some things that are tall. So I have this vase with some flowers in it. You want some things that are medium. So just, knocking stuff over. I have this skull. And this box. And you want a few things that are small. I have, scooch this over. I have some seashells and a little clay whistle. So this would be a good variety of objects. There's different sizes, there's different shapes, there's different textures. So you can create a lot of interesting stuff because they're variety. Later on, we're going to be talking about the principles of design. So principles of design are guidelines on how to use the elements of art. We talked about the elements of art the first semester, and now we're kind of starting to talk more about the principles of design. So the elements of art would be like line, shape, color, form, texture, and space. And the principles of design are how you use those. So we have a variety of textures and a variety of shapes and a variety of sizes. So variety is one of our elements of art. You always want to have a little bit of variety in your artwork. Now we're going to talk about some compositional rules of theirs. Now we have a variety, but they're all kind of just lined up in a row from tallest to shortest, and it's kind of boring. So if you remember when we did our landscape paintings, we talked about rule of thirds. We want our stuff that like stands out and that's the most important to be about 1/3 of the way into the page, not exactly in the middle, not exactly over to the side. So I'm going to take this vase and I'm going to move it to be about 1/3 of the way into my little area here. Since this is the tallest thing, it will create the most emphasis and at 1/3 of the way into the picture. So that's the first thing. Last semester, we also talked about in composition, creating depth, making some things seem closer and some things seem farther away. And the first way to create depth is to overlap. So we want to overlap some of our objects. So instead of just putting them in a row. So I'm going to put the skull a little bit. I'm going to move this flower back and I'm going to put the skull a little bit in front of there on this side. And I think I'm going to put one of the seashells kind of in there on this side. So we have a variety of heights. We have some further back, some closer up. And remember when we talked about how to create depth, the bottom is lower here, and then the bottom of this gets higher and higher up. So you want things that have varying heights at the top, and you want things that are closer and farther away at the bottom. That's a common mistake is my students line everything up in a row. And for a good composition, you don't really want that. So I think I'm going to maybe put another object here and then overlap this as well. So you can kind of play with a few different arrangements. Normally odd numbers of objects look better than even numbers as well. So here we have 5 objects, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our tallest, most interesting object 1/3 of the way into the page. We could play around with swapping stuff out, grouping it differently, and just kind of arrange it till you get a good idea. Now, another compositional thing, so we have rule of thirds, most important thing, 1/3 of the way in the page. We have overlapping. We have variety. We also kind of want to look at another compositional like tip would be an L shape. So where you kind of do the taller thing on one side and you get your other objects kind of stretched out in an L, like a capital L shape. So you can, it's kind of that way already, even if you leave this here, the bulk of our objects are in an L shape. So consider that as you're arranging your work, and then you want to think about lighting. Is the light all the same? If I was taking my photograph, I might consider dimming the lights in the room and using a spotlight to make the light more dramatic, use the cast shadows. So let me go ahead and put a pause on this, and I'm going to dim the lights in the classroom and kind of show you some lighting techniques. Hey guys, I'm back. I had to go to the other classroom to borrow a light to kind of show the spotlight here. We are now looking, now that we have the arrangement we want, we kind of want to pay attention to the lighting. So I have a little spotlight here. You can do this with your phone, and you can kind of pay attention to, if you do it like this, you get a lot of interesting shadows cast in the background. You can kind of choose if you want to do an up high light over here. So I dimmed the lights in the classroom, and I got a spotlight so I can get some more dramatic shadows. If you light from below, you have all the cast shadows in the background there. So this is like more dramatic. So you can kind of choose your lighting before you take your final picture. So I think I'm going to put it from the side, maybe a little bit above, because that's a kind of a little bit softer. There we go. Kind of create some emphasis. I don't know, I might want to put it on the other side. So let me create more emphasis on my main object, but that puts the cord in the way. So you can kind of play with the different lighting, figure out what kind of shows off your objects the best. Move that a little bit back. And the further away the light is, the softer the light will be. Now I think I'm ready to take my picture. So you can see like this light in the background, and you can see all the objects here, but when you get ready to take your picture, then you can also choose your angle. So I can get low down. I want to make sure that I get everything in there and I kind of fill up the frame. So I can get lower down to where it's more even. I can go higher up, and that will kind of change the angle. I'll see the tops of things. Feel like I'm walking up to it and looking down. I can do a portrait to get that height in there of the flower, or I can do it landscape. Generally, horizontal landscapes are more common for still lifes. You can change the sides to kind of change the angle that you're looking at, and you can step back or forward. And I think, let me look at it from the other side here. I think I got what I want here. So I've got everything kind of filled up and cropped. I think now that I have my lighting here, I might want to move this seashell forward just a little bit so it catches some of the light. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Maybe put it here where it catches just a little bit. We get a little bit of light on that seashell. So then back up a little bit and take a couple of pictures from a couple of different angles, and maybe rearrange one or two things. So I have a couple different options. I'm going to put the skull more this way, bunch it up more like this. You turn the skull more to this side. And try this one too. Then I can go to my final here. Let me turn that off so y'all can kind of see what I'm looking at. And then kind of decide which one. I think I like this one, but I'm going to crop it down because I don't want all that extra in the background. So then I'm going to edit my picture. This is on an Apple tablet. Then I can bring those corners in. I should have brought a little more fabric to where it kind of fills the frame. So also when you're cropping, it puts the rule of thirds lines on there. You can see it actually when you're moving this around. So where those lines crisscross is where you want your important objects. So I'm going to pull it to where the skull is about where the line crisscrosses. And I want to pull it a little bit wider maybe to where the flower is also in that crisscross line. There we go. So you have your crisscross lines here and here and here and here. So you have your main objects in there. And then I'm going to click done. Now, if you want to play with the color and the contrast, but this is my still life that I'm going to be painting, has a good contrast, has a good composition. I like how it looks. So I think I'm ready to start sketching mine out on my paper. And that's it for today for how to arrange a still life composition. And I will talk to y'all later. I look forward to seeing your work.